or scholars like yourself. It means those who descend from the fallen ones. The root word Nepal or Nepal, I may be pronouncing it wrong. The Bible's very clear that after the second incursion of fallen angels, as a matter of fact, Genesis 6 says there were giants in those days and after those days. That means before the flood and after the flood. And as one of, I'd say, the most focused researchers in the world on the idea of giants and the whole, if you will, history of the world as it relates to giants, there's two different sizes we're going to deal with. The pre-flood giants were bigger than the post-flood giants. The largest post-flood giant we know of in the Old Testament is King Og of Bashan, the land of the giants. And what's important for people to understand, you just quoted Matthew 24 a minute ago. Matthew 24 is very clear that men's hearts are going to fail them for fear of looking after those things coming up, UP, on the earth. We know in Matthew 24 it's coming up on the earth, and in the book of Revelation it's coming down on the earth. Woe unto you, inhabitants of the earth, for your enemy, or the devil, has great wrath, knowing but his time is short. And I think to put this into perspective, people have got to understand, we are not talking about large human beings, of which many of the circus freaks were, and they may have had a glandular disorder, but we're talking about historic reality and people and those giants whose bones are even with us today. And Stephen, you can put up the giant skull that we'll be displaying at Branson at the True Legends Conference this year in September. But I think it's critical that people understand we're not talking about just something in a fantasy book, a fairy tale, the book of Enoch, Dead Sea Scrolls, the book of Giants, Dead Sea Scrolls. All the different ancient writings deal about this. And so here's one of the things that I want to clear up right away. Nephilim, and this will help people with clarity, are the fallen angels, and those are the progenitor of the giants. The giants, from that point on, after the flood of Noah, are referred to as the Rephaim, the Rapha. They're even referred to, as you and I were talking before we went on the show today, that the dead, shall the dead rise to praise thee. So when you add all those up, I think I did, and guess what? They come out to be about 33 mentions in the Old Testament. So it's a big deal to deal with what we're talking about. Big deal, pun intended. Now I'm going to read, everybody, to set the stage for our interview, Isaiah 13, 1 through 3, in the Septuagint. The vision which Isaiah, son of Amos, saw against Babylon. Lift up a standard on the mountain plain. Exalt the voice to them. Beckon with the hand. Open the gates, ye rulers. Those are not normal rulers, okay? I give command, and I bring them. Giants are coming to fulfill my wrath, rejoicing at the same time and insulting. Now, what did Jesus tell us? Jesus told us that the gates of hell would not prevail. So this is talking about a period where God is going to allow the judgment on a God-rejecting population of the world to come forth. So again, now imagine this, and then we'll go wherever you want to go. Imagine that the extractable DNA of some of these mummified giants is intact enough to recreate, if you will, the Jurassic giants. I'm not talking about dinosaurs, but I'm just using that. Everyone is familiar with Jurassic Park. But the ability to basically take the, quote, stasis-like DNA and recreate a super being. And so the thing that is critical for people to understand is this is the book of Isaiah. Septuagint is, obviously the Greek version of the Old Testament, the first 5 books, the Tanakh. And I think the bottom line is that it's not fantasy. We're not dealing with something that's far out. And here's the question, too. Let's get this out, and then we'll go for it. This is an introduction. Jesus said in heaven they are neither given or taken in marriage, but are as the angels. We're not talking about heavenly angels. We're talking about fallen angels. A third of the angels fell. Isaiah 14, how art thou fallen? And the thing is that I believe it's critical, Stephen, that people get this, because everything now that we used to see in the future of supernaturalism is here on the planet now. Things are getting more bizarre, and the idea of transhumanism and transgenics, taking genes from different species and crossing the borders in the book of Genesis, everything that God created, he put borders for everything, and he created everything after its likeness and kind. And so what the devil tried to do, obviously by polluting the seed of woman, is to prevent the redemption of the Redeemer through Jesus Christ. So at this point, I think this is critical. I think it's so critical that if you were to ask me, Steve, after all the years you've been at this, 45 years, whatever, what is the thing you would say to people? I'd say this: it's happening before your eyes. All the denial in the world isn't going to keep you from dealing with it. The transhumanist agenda is basically simply this: God did a crummy job making human beings, and we're going to do a better job. Now, that sounds just like the Prince of Darkness to me. And so when you're talking about the dead, I think in the Isaiah, shall the dead rise to praise thee? That word is the Rephaim, the valley of Rapha, the valley of the giants. And then you and I were talking, Stephen, about all the different Zanzumans and all the different things that end in I-M, maybe Zanzumin. But the point is that this is critical. We're in the days of Noah, and if Jesus said it's going to be that bad, and I really want to thank you for bringing this up, these guys weren't just eating and drinking, beer and barley. They were eating human beings and drinking their blood. And now, why is that relevant? Because all of the Pedogate revelations, all of the information coming out of Hollywood, their satanic ritual feasts and all this stuff, it's right back to that. So whom ye yield